here's an example of a prompt using Claude, which I hope will help me to prepare a lesson using a dialogue from Borough Brav in an interesting, engaging and memorable way. Okay, so here's the prompt. I'm a teacher of Cornish. I have a group of 6 beginners. We have a 90-minute online session. We're going to use the attached text from the course book Borough Brav. Okay, just a note on that. What I did was I took a screenshot of the dialogue in Borough Brav and I simply uploaded it into this prompt, which you'll see in a minute. I want learners to finish the session totally understanding the text and ready to reproduce the main elements of it in their own way. I want to conduct the lesson in Cornish as much as possible. I want to avoid translation and avoid a focus on grammar. I want to follow CLT principles. I'm uploading a book on this by Jack Richards. What can I do to make the lesson as useful, interesting and memorable as possible? Also, what can the learners do before the lesson to prepare for the lesson? So there are 2 ways usually of uploading text. You can press the plus here, or you can simply drag and drop. Let's try both. So for one text, I'll press the plus and I'll find the Richards. So that's the Richards book. And then for the other one, let's try dragging and dropping. So here's my dialogue. I'm simply putting in there. Okay, let's press enter and see what happens. Okay, and it's giving me quite a lot of information. I didn't ask it not to use Cornish, and I noticed some of this Cornish is not correct. So, as always, be very vigilant about the Cornish it produces. Of course, I could have asked it not to use Cornish at all. You could argue, though, that it's useful for us to edit the Cornish and make sure it's accurate. And there's, yes, I recognize these sort of CLT activities. I think what I'm particularly interested in is what happens afterwards. So how the learners reproduce the language in the text and make it their own. So it's suggested sort of mini presentations, comic strip, which, yeah, that might suit some learners, recording themselves telling the story. I sort of expected it to suggest having a role play, but I haven't seen that anywhere. But I could write that in here actually. Okay. Word learners reenacting the dialogue in their own words be suitable? Absolutely, yes. Okay. So what's interesting here is that it's definitely using some of the CLT jargon, and there's a danger for people who don't know CLT so well that you might not know some of the words that you're using. So I think if it uses an expression that you don't know, simply say, for example, this scaffold. You can say, well, what do you mean by learn the grammar inductively? What do you mean by scaffolding? So let's write that here. What do you mean by Okay, yeah, so then it explains it. So, and I think that's another important principle with this, that you should leave the lesson suggestion totally understanding what it wants and agreeing with it. And anything that you don't like, say, well, is there an alternative to that? Could I do it another way? Or my learners don't have much time. What could they do in 20 minutes? Or it's really important for me that they remember the key elements between this lesson and the next lesson. What are the key things they can do at home that will help them? In fact, let's write exactly that prompt. It's important for the learners to carry forward to the next lesson key elements of language from this lesson. What can they do on a daily basis at home to help themselves? Again, this idea of a voice diary, audio journal. Retelling the story. That's a nice idea. A phrase of the day. Yes. Micro listening, visual story reconstruction. Yes. Okay, so apply number 5 is applying bits of the dialogue onto their real life. Number 6 is, again, obviously they couldn't do all of these, but there are some nice suggestions there. Oh, there's a WhatsApp suggestion, a WhatsApp signal moment. So if your class has a group, and it seems to me a lot of online classes do have their own WhatsApp group, you could have a micro posting Cornish reproducing the language from the dialogue. Yes. Very nice. Gosh, loads of ideas there. Okay, so that's an example of something that you could be doing after workshop 5, and I'm looking forward to hearing about your experience. And I think it's really important that you keep a copy of the prompt and be ready to feedback on what worked and what didn't work.